Okay, I like this game. I played another game online on free internet chess server, and this game again advanced French, but white had a twist in mind this time. Played queen g4. Alright, so I took, and now there's a whole mess of variations ready, because this is take 2 of the video. I messed up the first one. Alright, but my points are that the bishop is coming to d3. His knight is coming to f3, so he has a lot of pieces coming to the king side. His pawn on e5 is a structural weakness here. I will attack it with probably both my knight and the queen from c7, and he will probably not take back here on d4 with the knight or the king, absolutely not with the queen, and he will probably play c3 and let me take there and sacrifice pawn that way, that he can rapidly develop his knight to c3, maybe b5, but anyway to have the opportunity to have the open c file, because in this kind of positions I think it works for white better, because he has a better development. Okay, so the game progressed naturally. Knight c6, like normally in the French, is the best square, and in this particularly the knight has many options, and it's attacking the important e5 pawn. Alright, bishop d3, knight g7, also going to attack via g6, e5. Alright, white castled, and I played knight g6. At this point you might calculate that white has developed in a sense 4 pieces, 2 minors, the queen and the rook is almost developed because the king is castled, and white has only 2 pieces developed. Black has only 2 pieces developed, but with knight c6 black is forcing white's hand to develop, so black is taking some tempos out of this pawn. That is a very essential theme in this variation, that white will have to play some certain moves to protect that pawn. Okay, so rook e1, which is a developing move in a sense, but probably the rook might not be the piece to move first if white had a choice. So in that sense black won the tempi. Okay, queen c7, attacking e5, and again forcing someone to protect it. Now I think in this game white didn't want to play bishop f4 to lose his bishop, but I think that is the most natural move here, simply because that would be a developing move, and the move played queen g3 was to avoid that, but now the queen will be bad here. He will be outside of the game if black doesn't castle here on the king side. Okay, bishop d7, so you might already guess I'm going this way. Like normally, I just feel it's natural in the French. h4, again, this move kind of makes you feel that white didn't know what bishop d7 was about, castling queenside, because now the h4 seems more like a weakness. h5, knight g7, and now you might see this king is on the king side. Why would you play h5? It doesn't make that much sense, but okay, it's kicking the knight back and maybe putting some delay in this bishop's development, and maybe even this knight's development, because it's not so easy to develop it now. Coming to f5 might not be that tempting. Is this line might be quite fine though, but anyway, that's a case. Black's central pawns would be double isolated, and it doesn't look so great, but it's playable, I think. Nevertheless, in this kind of position black is opting for f6 to attack further here, and if exchange, then exchange queens, and white will end up with a strange pawn setup here. And talking about strange pawn setups, if white is thinking about knight g5 here, because that's nicely attacking here, I don't like this variation for white, because I will just show you quickly going forward how it would develop in my sense into this position, where white has a strange pawn triplet here, and these pieces undeveloped. And if you recall the situation a moment ago, in this position white was up in development by move 7, and now by move 19 black is up in development. So how can that be? White has less pieces developed and in this position than he had in the situation after move 7. So that transition is quite strange. So I don't like knight g5 for white. Bishop g5 kind of goes together with his plan of queen g3, but still this is just wasting time to exchange his bishop to my knight, which is frankly quite awkward here on e7 because it can't develop most naturally. Okay, so h6. Now I'm tempting him to take on e7. I don't think either this bishop h4 is a very good move because it will be offside there. So he takes and I take back. Now you might wonder that maybe this pawn is weak here, but really white doesn't want to go into those lines, because after that I will have the g file all the way to g2 again, open to the king, and you know, you've seen a couple of examples. I think that will be a very similar example of attacking chess, just winning without much problems. Okay, c3 for white. I think that's a very wise move, not to take on g7, not to open lines where your king is, but to try to open lines where your opponent's king is. So my king is here and he tries to open the c file. That makes a lot of sense, and like I said many times, white will sacrifice the pawn on d4. He doesn't even try to get it back and try to play, he will play c3 like in the game, so that black will take there and he can develop the knight, and that's exactly what happens. So now white again has quite a good development. He has ideas like knight b5 hanging in the air. He has ideas like knight takes d5 hanging in the air in some cases where I have retreated the king from c8, so that's not a bad move. He also has in some lines, when he has the c file taken, ideas like knight d4, because probably this knight cannot move very much due to the pin on the queen. Okay, so this is a very active position for white actually, but I try to make my position active as well with g6, trying to open the g file. Alright, he takes and I take back, and again I don't think white should take there. Piece or queen, doesn't matter, white shouldn't take there. After that I just will win the game. Okay, rook ac1 makes much more sense. Attack, don't try to take snatch on pawns that are going to make your opponent have chances. King b8. This move I played out of instinct. Sorry, I was feeling that it doesn't look good if I'm going to have my queen and the king on line with the rook, with just some pieces there, with white having some tricks like knight d5 or knight b5 coming in the air, and even knight b5, knight d6 with a check. He might have something there, I don't know, but I just wanted to avoid them and play queen b8. On the other hand, that is stepping right into this business with the queen, so that the knight d5 idea might come into place, because if I take back he might play e6, and in that case the situation will be that he will win the piece back and might have some game after the play opens, because his rooks are quite well in the center now, so I don't want to open the center. Bishop b5. This move I felt was a little bit strange. What else to suggest for white though? Somehow he should get his queen into play, because this queen is offside. It's not easy though, and somehow he should start expansion on this side, so maybe a3 and b4, that could make sense, and then b5. This bishop b5 really doesn't do much for him. It might even give me some tempi with queen b6, but to be truth be told, I didn't like the line with queen b6, so I went with g5 here. Alright, I will go quickly. a4 for white. That is queenside expansion, but I don't think it helps white much. It just protects the bishop and not allows me to take the tempo out of it. Rook h to f8. Now I'm putting pressure on f2 because I feel that this knight will move at some point, and also I have this g4 push here, which I don't think he can take back, because then he would have the problem with the open g file. So now I'm focusing on f2 because that's kind of weak in this position. He took on c6, and now this doesn't go at all together with a4, because if you're gonna take there, why didn't you take there a move ago? Alright, but anyway, now I take back with the pawn. I think this is most logical towards the center. Supports d5 so that the knight b5 ideas are less of a problem, and also it prepares to have a move in center. Knight d4, I think this is a plain mistake. Queen b6. Now at this point my game is just very logical, very quickly moving forward, and I just win the game without problem at this point. I'm not sure if I'm completely winning, but after queen d3 I absolutely am completely winning with the moving center. c5, knight db5 and c4, and now this attack is too much. Sorry, to f2. He played a blunder here, queen g6, which of course allows me to take here, and it's a 5-move mate, you can find it out. But even after the better queen to g3, I have the nice move bishop b5, and then rook takes f2. If I take here too early, sorry, let's go to this variation. Yeah, rook takes f2, he has to move a5, and it's not so clear what happens. But if I take first on b5, he takes back, then I play rook takes f2. He is really lost, because now after a5, queen takes b5, he can't really take back with the queen because of the pin this way, so he would have to take back with the king, and after bishop c5, king e2, d4, he will just get mated in the middle of the board, or has to give so much material up that he will not survive. Alright, thank you for watching this video. I think theme in this video was that White was focusing from the start to attack on the king side, so he was bringing his forces here, focusing here, and also bringing the pawn on the king side. And when I castled queen side, I solved most of my problems, because he didn't have that many forces ready here on the queen side. Even though he tried his best with sacrificing a pawn, I ended up being faster in the game, and I think White's main mistake was then spending time with bishop b5, a4, bishop takes c6 plan, which just gave me another central pawn, and these moving pawns to the center just won the game. So thank you for watching. That was the game.